A quantitative study review of the patient's quality of life in nursing homes. A group's critique of the 2013 study by J.H. Shen entitled Relationship Between Nursing Staff and Quality of Life in Nursing Homes. So what are the problems, purpose, and questions involved in this study? The problem associated with living in nursing homes is the lack of quality of life. As healthcare workers, it is essential to research all factors that may contribute to quality of life in nursing homes so as to better serve current and future residents. The purpose of this study is to investigate the relationship between nursing staff and quality of life in nursing homes. Nurse staffing is a variable that must be researched to know whether or not it impacts residents' quality of life. The research question related to this study is whether or not nurse staffing has an effect on the quality of life in nursing homes. This question was identified by studying the purpose statement of the article. Independent and dependent variables. What are the independent and dependent variables of this particular study? The independent variables or cause variables are the nursing staff hours per resident per day, HPRD, the rate of turnover for nursing staff and the skill mix, the ratio of registered nurses compared to licensed practical nurses and certified nursing assistants, full-time versus part-time employment. The dependent variable or effect variable is the quality of life when there are turnovers among the diverse nursing staff roles. So what was the framework and design? Actually, there was no declaration of a conceptual model or theoretical framework for this particular study. The criteria used for identification was a hierarchical linear model, along with a descriptive correlational study that was utilized for criteria identification. Sample. What was the target population? What was the inclusion criteria? How large was the sample size? And what were the various characteristics of the sample? Well, the majority of the residents or the participants were widow and all were female. They had to be able to reach 13 points on a mini mental status examination. The mean or average age was about 85 years old. The populations that were researched were residents in nursing homes. And in order to be considered for participation, residents needed to reside in a nursing home in Iowa. And it does appear that researchers were looking for nursing homes that had about 50 to 100 patient beds. There were 25 nursing homes which agreed to participate. Of the 25 nursing homes, there were 231 residents that were included in the program. The total number of participants was about 230. The dichotomous and Likert scale were used. What were the advantages of using the simple random sampling method? Well, this method reduces bias because everyone identified as a potential participant has the same chance of being chosen. The disadvantage of using this method is simply sampling errors. The Shen study did involve human subjects and therefore required prior ethical review. The study was approved by the review board at the University of Iowa. Anytime there are human participants, there is a potential for exploitation. All participants were cognitively able to provide consent as well as to choose not to participate at any time. Data management involves collection and analysis. There was a survey done of 231 residents, as mentioned previously. It was analyzed through the statistical study of the t-test to determine the relationship between the variables. What was the conclusion? Well, basically it showed that staffing variables have the ability to predict some of the quality of life domains. So what were some of the significant findings? Well, the HPRD highlights showed that RNs improved comfort but reduced autonomy and meaningful activity, whereas CNAs were most connected to residents. The skill mix highlights showed that CNAs were involved in ADLs. RNs contributed positively to all quality of life indicators, but that could be optimized. Turnover highlights showed that increased RN turnover was directly correlated with increased enjoyment. CNA turnover inversely related to security and individuality. What were the limitations? Most studies have limitations. In this particular study, the study occurs in one state, which is Iowa, had limited racial diversity, and the findings were not generalizable to the rest of the United States. The study also utilized female residents only and excluded male residents. The nursing homes that refused to participate could have had worse quality of life due to the environment and fewer services for residents. This was a non-experimental design descriptive correlational study. It was a study that was based on observations, and in terms of evidence-based practice, it was not applicable. While this study was very informative, future studies are needed in order to investigate the concrete relationships between direct and indirect nursing care and resident outcomes.